Kind of a nation wants to be associated with the mass murder of innocent men, women, and children.
Breaking right now, President Donald Trump orders strikes on Syria over suspected chemical weapons attacks. He made the announcement a couple hours ago in an address to the nation. A man is executed inside his own home while shaving. Now investigators are trying to warm up this cold case.
A Cobb County man already facing child pornography charges sexually abuses a little boy. Tonight we're asking, why was he allowed to be alone with kids in the first place?
It's a game that's supposed to stop fatal shootings. So why do police want it to stop?
Severe weather outbreak tonight to the west. This system will be here this time tomorrow. I'll let you know the impacts.
Our top story tonight, President Donald Trump telling the nation he has ordered airstrikes against Syria, which are already underway at this hour. The U.S., along with British and French forces, seeking to punish President Bashar Assad for recent chemical attacks. Georgia Senator David Perdue commented on President Trump's announcement to strike Syria, releasing this statement just moments ago. It says, in part, President Trump is engaged and led our allies in measured response to hold Assad accountable. Now, more in the international community need to join the U.S. in a strong response to Assad. A good start would be to prevent Syria from taking its turn to head the UN Conference on Disarmament and instead insist on leadership from a country that's not actively using chemical weapons on its own civilians. So, how did we get here? The tension between the U.S. and Syria dates back to the beginning of the Syrian civil war. Here's a timeline to help you understand why President Trump is taking a stand now.
The Syrian civil war started in 2011 when Syrians rose up as part of the Arab Spring protests against Middle East dictators, and peaceful protesters were shot at by government forces. The following year, President Obama told Syrian President Bashar al-Assad that he shouldn't use chemical weapons against his people or he risks crossing a red line. Then in 2013, the worst chemical weapons attack against the Syrian people in Ghouta, more than 1,000 people died. That prompted the U.S. and Russia to reach a deal to remove or destroy Syria's chemical weapons by 2014. That happened in 2014, but after a series of chemical weapons attacks, outgoing Secretary of State John Kerry said Syria had undeclared chemical weapons that were being used on innocent people. It was 1 year ago this month that yet another nerve agent attack killed dozens, prompting the U.S. to fire cruise missiles at a Syrian airbase.
We'll have much more on this developing story coming up in just a few minutes. This next one is a disturbing story. A Marietta mom discovers her 7-year-old child was sexually abused inside his babysitter's home by the woman's son. Just hours ago, a Cobb County jury sentenced this man, Christopher Rice, to life in prison, but that's only the beginning. Faith Abube is at the Cobb County Jail where Rice is now being held. Faith, how in the world did this happen?
Well, Vinny, if you had any doubt at all about how heinous this crime was, just think about what the judge did here. He gave Christopher Rice a life sentence and then tacked on another 50 years. And here's why. A brave little boy stood up for himself and faced his attacker inside a Cobb County courtroom this week and sent this man to prison.
He was incredibly brave and strong and articulate and was able to go into court and tell the jury and the judge what occurred all while sitting in front of the man who abused him.
Cobb County prosecutor Katie Gropper says the abuse happened more than once at this apartment on Favor Road. Hi. The boy was only 7 years old at the time.
Mr. Rice convinced the child that he was a doctor and that he was trying to help him.
And the boy trusted him because Christopher Rice is the babysitter's son.
Are you Chris's mom?
Yes. She would not talk on camera but says her son is innocent. She admits she was wrong for leaving him with a child knowing Rice was already facing federal child pornography charges and was not allowed to be alone with kids. What's more, she never informed the parents of the kids she was babysitting.
Her response to that was that he hadn't been convicted yet.
Why was he allowed to go back in the house where we knew there would be children?
Well, I can't speak to the federal bond conditions because that was outside of our realm. But my understanding is he was not supposed to be left with children unsupervised, and unfortunately that was done.
And there's no plan to charge the mother?
Not at this point.
What can begin now is healing for the little boy who now knows the man who abused him will never be free again.
Now that we're on the other side of this, there's some closure, there's some justice. This man will never be able to harm another child again.
Faith, do investigators think there are any other victims out there?
Well, right now, the prosecutor's office telling me they have no inclination that there are any more victims out there, Vinny.
All right, Faith Abubey, thanks so much. A tragic, horrifying story out of Barrow County. A 16-year-old accused of killing his girlfriend, and the sheriff thinks he may have stabbed her and then stayed alone with her body overnight. The Barrow County Sheriff says it happened Wednesday night in the boy's bedroom. On Thursday afternoon, his mom's boyfriend went to the house where he saw the girl's body. The boy allegedly admitted what he'd done, then ran and was later caught. The sheriff says he isn't ready to release any possible motive.
It's tragic, you know, anytime anybody loses their life at any age, but it's tragic when it's juveniles. When it's, you know, you got two 16-year-olds, should be full of life, should be early on in life, and then this kind of sort of thing happens, and then, you know, the community has to deal with it, and there's so many things the family trying to wrap their head around the situation and circumstances, but it's just a tragic event.
The 16-year-old turns 17 next month and will face murder charges as an adult.
Time for your speed feed. I'm Natisha Lance with a big police presence at an apartment complex in Atlanta. Our cameras were there as Atlanta police took a man into custody at the Monroe Place Apartments. The Special Apex team was called to help serve the warrant. Our crew saw members of the homicide unit there as well. Right now, officials aren't releasing many details, but our 11 Alive news team will continue digging for answers. Two metro counties combined forces to take more gang members off the streets. The Clayton County Sheriff's Office says Naya Terry was a wanted member of the 59 Brim Bloods, the same gang his older brother is affiliated with. When Vice Squad members and Henry County deputies showed up at Terry's home, they found drugs, weapons, and 3 more gang members who were also arrested. The remains of a sailor killed at Pearl Harbor are finally on their way home. 25-year-old Navy seaman, second-class Frank Wood, was stationed on the USS Oklahoma on December 7, 1941, when Japanese military forces attacked. Wood was listed among the missing, but in 2015, his remains were exhumed. Today, his casket arrived at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, where it was received by family and an honor escort. Wood will be buried tomorrow in Franklin, North Carolina, with full military honors. Vinny.
All right, finally, thanks so much. A man shot execution style while shaving, and a jailhouse rumor may have been the motive. Now Atlanta detectives are asking for your help to solve this cold case killing.
Hubert was shot what I would consider classic execution style. Shot twice to the back of the head, once to the chest.
67-year-old Hubert Lytle was living a quiet life at a home in a nice neighborhood in southwest Atlanta after serving 20 years for dealing drugs. His roommate saw Hubert before she went to work that June morning. When she came home, she thought he was taking a shower because she heard the water running. But she got worried when the water never stopped.
She yells for Hubert, nobody answers. She's like, well, maybe I should go check on him. And when she goes back there, it wasn't the shower, it was actually the sink that was running. The water was running in the sink, and she found him in the bathroom hunched over.
There was no sign of forced entry, nothing was stolen, and only 3 people had keys to the house, his roommate and 2 family members.
That's what struck us real odd at first. We figured maybe a home invasion, you know, but there was nothing missing, nothing was stolen. There was no sign of a struggle whatsoever.
Police ruled out any current connection to crime. Despite his earlier drug days, Hubert was clean since he got out.
This was not random at all. He was targeted. And I think when he was bent over the sink shaving, he was shot twice in the back of the head. And then when he fell down to the ground, they put 1 more into him in his chest.
The motive for his murder may go back to a jailhouse rumor.
When Hubert was dealing drugs back in the 80s, he stocked away money. They said he squirreled it away. And that was a big rumor that Hubert had a pile of money to come when he got out of prison and get to.
It's a rumor investigator Otts doesn't believe.
I don't think Hubert ever saw it coming.
The defense rests and Tex won't take the stand. What's next in the MacIver murder trial?
Paintballs instead of bullets. Sounds like a good idea. So why do police want these fake guns off the streets?
Tornado watches, tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, all with this system that is moving our way. I'll let you know the latest on our storm threats.
Hi, Vinny. Hi, everyone in Atlanta. Joe Manganiello is here tonight. Plus, we have Jeff Daniels, stand up for Mike Vecchione, and thank you notes. It's a great show, all new tonight. Stay tuned.